In the courts of heaven, something was signed, sealed, and set into motion long before this moment reached you. And I need you to understand, what you are about to receive is not accidental. It is divine timing at its most precise. There is a message currently traveling through dimensions you cannot see, passing through realms the natural eye cannot perceive, making its way to you with absolute intentionality. And it arrived exactly when it needed to. Not a second too early, not a moment too late. You feel it, don't you? That unexplained stirring. That sense that something has shifted in the atmosphere around your life, even though nothing in the natural has visibly changed. You have been waiting for confirmation that what you sensed was real, that the burden you have carried in silence was not paranoia, it was prophecy waiting to be decoded. There is a fire burning somewhere in the unseen, not to destroy you, but to burn away everything that was never really you. The enemy wants you to believe that your current season is evidence of God's absence. Nothing could be further from the truth. Look at Joseph, 17 years old when his brothers threw him into a pit. A young man with prophetic dreams dissolving into darkness, abandonment, and betrayal. He had done nothing wrong, he was simply anointed, and the world, led by his own family, treated him accordingly. But God was already working. Every pit became a palace, every betrayal became strategy. Every silent night in slavery became preparation for the throne room. Your current struggle has the same fingerprints on it. The thing that feels like it is breaking you is actually breaking off the chains of a version of yourself that could not carry what God has next. When C.S. Lewis wrote about pain being God's megaphone to rouse a deaf world, he was not speaking theoretically. He was speaking from experience, from a man who knew what it meant to wrestle through suffering toward a faith that actually meant something, not a comfortable faith, a living one. This is not punishment, this is refinement. The refiner's fire does not feel like blessing in the moment, but the gold always recognizes its purpose once the heat is applied correctly. Stay close, because what comes next will change how you see everything. Here is what the enemy does with precision. He waits until the hour when human strength is lowest, when your support systems are asleep, when your mind is tired enough to believe anything, and then he whispers the lie that God has forgotten you. Nobody tells you this plainly, so I will. At 2 a.m., when you are staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep, when the weight of unanswered questions presses against your chest like a physical force, when you wonder if anyone on earth even cares, let alone anyone in heaven, that is not a spiritual attack being launched randomly. That is targeted warfare against your destiny. The enemy knows what you are carrying. He knows the assignment on your life, and he will spend every sleepless hour trying to convince you that the calling was never real. David understood this. A young shepherd boy, anointed by Samuel in secret, promised by God to become king, and then sent straight into years of running, hiding, and being hunted by the very king he was meant to serve. He wrote in the Psalms about his bones being troubled, his spirit being overwhelmed, his soul refusing to be comforted. He was not faking his pain. He was being honest about it while simultaneously refusing to let it be his final word. God is not impressed by your strength. He is drawn to your honesty. When you bring your desperation to him unfiltered, unpolished, without the performance, that is the worship he values most. Your 2 a.m. tears are not weakness. They are evidence that you have not given up, and heaven sees. If this confirmed what you have been sensing, type in the comments, God has not forgotten me. Here is the part that nobody wants to hear, but everyone needs to understand. Sometimes the reason your breakthrough has not arrived is not because God said no. Sometimes it is because God said wait, and in that waiting, he is doing something your impatience cannot see. I have seen this pattern repeat across generations. The moment when everything inside you screams that it is time, that you have waited long enough, that God must act now or you will break. That is often the exact moment when the enemy sets the trap that would have destroyed the very thing you were praying for. God's delays are not denials, they are difference. Consider Moses. 40 years in the desert after receiving his calling, watching the throne room of Egypt from a shepherd's perspective, learning patience in obscurity because the skill he would need for leadership could only be developed away from the crown. He went from being a prince who could solve problems with his fists to a shepherd who could only solve problems with God. That distinction saved an entire nation. Your waiting season is not wasted time, it is character formation. And the character you are building in this silence will be the vessel that carries the power for your next assignment. C.S. Lewis once observed that we are half-made creatures who are always learning that the one thing we want most is actually the one thing that would destroy us if we got it too soon. God is protecting you from a premature receipt. He is guarding your gift until your character catches up with your call. Something has already shifted in your favor. You may not see it yet, but the enemy does, and that is exactly why this message found you tonight. Stay with me. There is a specific assignment of the enemy that targets people like you, people who have been faithful, who have given their best, who have served with genuine devotion, and attacks your sense of belonging. He does not come for your faith first, he comes for your worth. Once he can make you question whether you are truly loved, truly chosen, truly his, then everything else crumbles. This is the spirit of rejection wearing 1,000 different masks. Sometimes it sounds like the voice that says you were not good enough for that opportunity. Sometimes it whispers that the person who hurt you was probably right about your inadequacy. Sometimes it simply sits in your chest as a weight that will not lift. The feeling that you are somehow fundamentally broken in a place God cannot reach. That is a lie. Ruth was a widow in a foreign land, considered nothing by the culture around her, stripped of identity and lineage by the death of her husband. She had every reason to believe she had been rejected by fate, by God, by the natural order of things. But she stayed. She did not leave. She said to her mother-in-law, "Your God will be my God." And in that declaration she changed the trajectory of human history, because she became the great-grandmother of King David, and ultimately the lineage of Jesus Christ. Your story is not over. Your rejection may actually be your assignment. That door that closed was protecting you from walking into a version of your destiny that looked right, but would have cost you everything real. If your spirit just received this truth, type in the comments. Will my reassignment become? This one is for the person who has been told to stop talking about what God showed you. There is someone watching this who has been faithfully prophesying over your life, declaring the promise even when nothing around you confirmed it, and recently you have been surrounded by voices telling you that you were wrong, that you imagined it, that you were being prideful, that you need to be more realistic. Those voices have nearly silenced the most important gift you carry, but hear me clearly, Esther was born for such a time as this. When Mordecai sent word to her that her moment had arrived, she did not respond with confidence, she responded with fear. She was afraid, but she went anyway. She put on the king's robe not because she felt ready, but because the moment demanded her presence. And when she walked into that throne room, she did not wing it. She positioned herself. She waited for the right time. She spoke the word that was given to her with precision. The prophetic word God placed inside you is not a burden, it is an inheritance. And the season of silence you are in right now is not evidence that you were wrong. It is the refining time when your word becomes sharper, more accurate, more weaponized for the moment when it finally lands. Do not let anyone talk you out of what God told you. Write it down, seal it, hold it. Your appointed time is coming. Here is where the prophetic gets sharp. The enemy is not passive. He does not simply wait for you to fail. He prepares tables in visible places designed to make you believe that your destruction has been arranged, that the forces aligned against you are too powerful, that there is nowhere left to turn. Psalm 23 speaks of the enemy preparing a table in the presence of your enemies, not to show defeat, but to show that God makes a mockery of every trap the enemy sets. Daniel understood this. Thrown into the lion's den by decree of a king who had been manipulated by jealous officials, surrounded by hungry predators with no human rescue possible, and God sent an angel to shut the lions' mouths. Not because Daniel had earned it through perfection, but because his character had been refined through years of faithfulness in smaller tests. The lion's den was not the end of his story. It was the scene where his story caught fire. You are in a place that looks like it was designed for your undoing, but every table the enemy sets in hostility, God turns into a celebration. The thing that was meant to humiliate you will become the testimony that sets others free. Everything I cannot say in one video, I wrote down. The ebook in the description goes 10x deeper. If this message is for you, that book definitely is too. The link is below. Get it. You need the full teaching for what you are walking through. I want to speak now to the one who has been screaming at the mountain. The one who has said over and over, "How long, Lord? How long will this continue?" the debt that won't clear, the relationship that won't restore, the diagnosis that won't change, the career door that won't open no matter how many times you knock. The mountain has not moved, and you are beginning to wonder if it ever will. Here is what I need you to understand about mountains. In the Gospels, Jesus says if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, "Be removed and be cast into the sea," and it will obey. But notice what he does not say. He does not say the mountain will move immediately. He says it will obey. Faith does not override God's timeline. It activates his power within his timeline. There is a difference. Elijah on Mount Carmel stood before 850 prophets of Baal, demanded fire from heaven, and watched God burn the impossible altar to prove who he was. That mountain moved. But Elijah had been faithful through years of hiding, running, and depression before that moment came. The miracle on the mountain was built in the silence of the cave. Your mountain will move, not because you have complained enough, because you have been faithful enough in the waiting, and the miracle is closer than your despair thinks. If God used this message to shift something in you, consider sowing a seed at Ko-fi. What you invest in spiritually tends to multiply. Link is in the description. No pressure, pure partnership. There is a place inside you that the enemy has tried to rename. He has called you failure. He has called you forgotten. He has tried to make you forget that before you were anything else, before the wound, before the disappointment, before the version of yourself that learned to perform for approval, you were chosen, not chosen because you earned it, chosen because God moves first. Paul wrote in Ephesians that we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works that he prepared in advance for us to walk in. You are not an afterthought. You are not a backup plan. You are not the result of a calculation God made when his first option didn't work out. You were the plan. You were always the plan. C.S. Lewis wrote that the Christian faith is the belief that there is a God who loves us with an intensity that defies human measurement, and that this love is not a feeling but an act, a decision made before time began. You were not an accident of divine chance. You were a deliberate, chosen, pursued possession of the Most High God. Let that settle in your spirit, not as a nice idea, as an identity shift. The enemy can attack your circumstances. He can attack your relationships. He can attack your confidence. But he cannot attack your election. That is sealed. That is protected. That is already won. Type below right now. Let your agreement be an act of faith. I am chosen and sealed. Here is the truth that changes everything about how you fight. The war you are fighting in the spirit is not one you are losing. It is one that has already been won. Jesus went to the cross not as a tragic figure hoping for eventual victory. He went as a conqueror who had already secured the spoils. Every demonic assignment against your life was rendered powerless the moment he said it is finished. You are not fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory. When Joshua led Israel into Jericho, they did not fight the battle by attacking the walls. They walked around them. For 6 days they circled in silence, carrying the Ark of the Covenant, obeying a strategy that made no natural sense. And on the 7th day the walls fell. Not because Israel was strong, because God was present. Because obedience in the unseen is more powerful than fighting in the visible. The battle for your breakthrough is not happening in your circumstances. It is happening in your obedience. Keep walking, keep believing, keep declaring what God said. The walls will fall. Your next level of discernment is in that ebook. Link below. It is priced to be accessible because I want it in your hands, not on a shelf. Get it. The strategies I share there will change how you engage spiritual warfare. Now I need to speak to the one who has been waiting for a return. The one who gave something to God and has been watching for it to come back. The prayer you prayed, the sacrifice you made, the relationship you surrendered, the door you closed. You have been waiting at the altar, holding the offering, wondering if anyone is watching, if the return will ever come. It is coming. Abraham waited decades for the son God promised. He almost lost his faith on the mountain when God asked for the ultimate test. But what he did not know, what he could not see, was that the angel of the Lord was already preparing the ram in the thicket. The return was already in motion before Abraham's hand dropped the knife. God is never late. He is only early in ways we do not recognize until later. What you have been holding by faith, do not let go. The return on your investment is en route. It may not look the way you expected. It may not come from the direction you planned. But it is coming, and when it arrives, you will understand why every delay was necessary. This channel exists because people like you need prophetic truth delivered with love. Subscribe so heaven's messages keep reaching you. Hit that button. There is more coming that you cannot afford to miss. Listen carefully to what I am about to say. Whatever chapter of your life you believe has ended, it has not. God does not close doors without opening new ones. He does not take things away without replacing them with something better. But here is the warning that comes with the promise. The new beginning will require a new you. The old version of who you were cannot carry the new assignment. In the book of Genesis, after the flood destroyed the earth, God did not restore the world to what it was before. He made a covenant with Noah and established a new beginning with new rules. The rainbow was not just a reminder of what was, it was a seal on what would be. God is not restoring your past, He is birthing your future. So let the old version die if it has to. Let the identity that cannot hold what is next release its grip. You are being remade into someone who can carry the weight of the promise, and the breaking process is not permanent, it is preparatory. Stay close. The final revelation goes deeper than anything we have covered so far. Do not step away. Now we arrive at the final word, and I need you to hear this with everything inside you. There is a blessing coming to your life that has been authorized, signed and dispatched from the throne room of heaven. It is not dependent on your performance. It is not contingent on your perfection. It is flowing to you because of whose you are, not because of what you have done. And no weapon formed against you, no scheme, no strategy, no demonic assignment, no human betrayal, no systemic attack, no weapon formed against you has the power to stop what God has already decided to give you. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus said He came so that you might have life, and have it abundantly, not barely, not surviving, abundantly, overflowing, immeasurably more than you could ask or imagine. If this ministry has been a source of spiritual strength for you, you can sow into it at Ko-fi. The link is in the description. Every gift keeps this work going. This content is free because I believe everyone deserves prophetic truth, and your partnership makes that possible. Here is where we close. I speak now over your future, not just your pain, not just your past, but the future that has been prepared for you since before you were born. God is not finished with your story. Chapter you thought was the end was actually the setup for the beginning you could not see coming. Everything that has happened to you, the wounds, the delays, the rejections, the seasons of silence, has been working together for your elevation, not your destruction. You are not who you were last year. You are not who you were 5 years ago. You are being remade, and the version of you that is emerging is far more powerful, more aligned, more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness than anything the enemy prepared for. So take this truth and carry it with you, not as a feeling, but as a foundation. When the 2 a.m. comes again, when the enemy whispers his lies, when the mountain does not move as quickly as you want, remember whose you are. Remember what has already been won. Remember that heaven timed this message for this exact moment, and it would not have found you if you were not meant to receive it. You are chosen, you are sealed, you are loved beyond measure, and what the enemy meant for your destruction, God is turning into the doorway of your destiny. Father, I come to you now on behalf of every person watching, every spirit listening, every heart that has been carrying wounds they could not name. I ask you to release a spirit of revelation right now. Open eyes that have been blinded by pain. Restore hope that has been stolen by disappointment. Speak clearly to the one who has been crying out and hearing only silence. Let them know tonight that you have been answering, that you have been moving, that the delay has been for their protection and your glory. Lord, I declare over every person in this moment that their former things are passing away, that you are making all things new, that the door they thought was closed is about to open in a way they never expected. I speak blessing over their families, their finances, their health, their purpose, and their identity in you. Guard their hearts from discouragement. Shield their minds from the enemy's lies. Send angels to fight battles they cannot see, and raise up prophetic voices around them who will speak the word they need to hear at the exact moment they need to hear it. Father, I thank you for what you are about to do. You are not finished, you are only beginning, and everything that has been planted in this season will harvest beyond what any eye has seen or any heart has imagined. In Jesus' name, amen. If this spoke to your spirit, subscribe and turn on notifications. God has more to say, and I don't want you to miss a single word. The link is below. See you in the next one.